is a nationally recognized speaker, AI strategist, and community innovation leader who blends storytelling, technology, and equity to create impact. As founder of RebrandLand Incorporated AI, she is building the first AI ecosystem for nonprofits, delivering custom software, branding strategies, and community tech tools that help mission-driven organizations scale with intention. Through the Rebrand Institute of Tech Equity, Kayla leads registered apprenticeship programs and workforce development initiatives that center access, justice, and innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, Kayla Life.
All-star, love it.
All right, well, let's get into it. All right, so opening questions to my panel here. How is AI currently being used in media and public relations, and what are the biggest advancements you've seen? Start with anyone.
Yeah, I think, can y'all hear me?
Mm-hmm.
No?
Put your teacher voice on.
It's okay. Yeah, it's on. It's on.
Yeah, make this
Thank you kindly. I think PR and comms, yeah, you can hear me now. PR and comms is unlike any other industry where it is being touched by AI, right? So we hear about this AI surge happening everywhere. I think specifically in our industry, what I've been seeing after talking to a lot of like PR and comm professionals is that they're using it to help them in their day-to-day, right? I think AI technology, AI models are able to support existing work, right, to streamline processes. I've even heard of people using it to help them with their pitching, to help them with their those mundane tasks that take a long time in their day-to-day. So I think we're seeing it being used in a multitude of ways, both on like the technical front of what the work requires, but then also when we think about creativity and some of us who might not, it might be a muscle that's harder for us to cultivate, using AI to help support that too. And I think also in research and development, a lot of our work as PR and comms professionals requires us sometimes to be doing a lot of research, to be knowing certain insights, and I think AI has helped a lot of PR and comm professionals cut that time down.
Yeah, I'd love to build on that. I think if you look like in top level, you're seeing agencies really invest in AI to streamline a lot of the work and kind of touching on the mundane, right? So you're seeing clients want kind of monitoring news, so summaries of those articles, touching on how they were integrated. You're looking at different types of reporting. So those tasks are definitely being utilized for AI to where those professionals can kind of put their work and their time spent elsewhere. I feel like if we go kind of on a more specific individual level, and even touching on myself as someone navigating as an early career professional, I look to it as kind of a start to the process for me, and touching on research, right? So a research task gives me a starting point, right? So I can build off of that research to kind of streamline and get a little bit more efficient. And then I would say also, in addition to the research task, I think it's really helpful in kind of the creative brainstorming. I always like it as an initial stage in my process. So bringing on kind of the pitch process, so we look at the subject line. If we're trying to get it more punny, if we're trying to get more I love the funny ones. I love to think of I used to work in the tech space, so that tech thing, I was like, I need something that I can relate to. So I would get real punny with it and give something else, give some flavor to it. And I think ChatGPT was really helpful in that process. So really in my initial stages is where I'm seeing AI really help me in my process. And I think top level, if we're thinking about agencies and companies at large, it's super beneficial in helping professionals get to the work they need to focus on.
They said all the things. But I'll add some value to the conversation and say that, what I've experienced in using AI personally in my agency, but also with working with other individuals, is in using AI to train, right? So you're onboarding new people, you don't have time to put a physical person right there, but you trained this AI to do everything about your business and they can work through those steps, baby. There's a number of different things that people are using AI for, but if you know how to use it beneficially, it can be a benefit. And I always tell people AI is a tool. Yeah. It's not your brain. It's not going to think for you, right? But you do have to direct it in a way where it can assist you in your thinking.
Absolutely, and I agree with you. It's all in the prompts, how you write your prompts for AI. So AI-generated content is becoming more common, as we discussed. How do you think audiences can truly tell the difference between human and AI generated messaging. And I'll start with you, Kayla.
Yeah, this is my favorite thing, okay? Don't be the type of person where we know you're using AI, okay? Everything that AI is doing, once again, it's not your brain, it's very generic, right? And if you're not feeding it the right information, if you're not giving it enough, right? And if you are not asking it enough questions, it's gonna shoot out the same thing the next person is getting, okay? People can tell if AI content is generated, not just by text, but through the pictures, through the images that you're using. So you might have generated an image of a black woman, right? Because there's not a whole bunch of stock photos out there, let's just keep it real. But those same AI images, and I know we're gonna talk about that a little later, are biased in their thinking, right? I, for example, was using AI. We have our AI model, Crystal, who is, just as she stated, Crystal with a K, baby. She's our leader in this. And she is a black lady. She is a black woman. She's making it happen. When I had to generate the image for her, I went through 47 different images to get what I wanted. And still, her hair is not what I want it to be. I just kind of settled on it, right? I don't know why they think we all wear afros, because we don't, right? And I don't know when I say give her longer hair, they automatically gave her cornrows. That's not what I asked for, right? So there's a lot of different ways that you can tell if AI is being used in the content, especially because AI can't do certain things. Bad with teeth, bad with hands, bad with hands, terrible with hands, okay? Also terrible with words. If you're doing an image and you're putting words in that, baby, it's like scribble, scrabble, Tommy Pickles. It's terrible, okay? But you can tell, right? So I would give the suggestion, if you are going to use AI generated content, pay very close attention, but use it as it states, as a tool. Use it in conjunction. Take that image, chop it up, cut it up, move the hands up, crop the hands out, and then make your own flyer, right? Just don't make it something that you're using automatically. But then also, because I'm really big on our artists here, also understand that AI is being built off of a data set, right? And sometimes, most of the time, it's pulling from someone else's work. So be very careful about how you're using AI, so that you are not copywriting or plagiarizing something that someone else has done. Or you just got the same stuff that looks like somebody else's.
No, I love these points. And I think I want to build on, the image building from ChatGPT and models of it. Earlier on in my time at Edelman, we were building kind of creative concepts for a farmer's market for dogs event. Never been done before, farmer's market, pets, that's not. But a lot more than not, you can see a lot of consumers bringing their pets to farmers markets. So it was a consumer insight that we built, that people feel comfortable having pets around during farmers markets. So we felt as a brand working for Mars's pet food portfolio that this could be a really good pull for them. But there was nothing we could use for creative assets. So kind of building on this, not access to stock images, they had to utilize ChatGPT or kind of AI models. And I think that's so important to recognize that it's already being used, and it's super important that we continue to urge transparency in that. And I think that's what I really want to touch on in this question is, how can we tell, right? And I think it's because we're so ethical in how we use it, right? Like, we need to be the stewards of that. And any time that we're using ChatGPT, it shouldn't be a shame. It shouldn't be a bad thing. This is where the times are going, and we need to get with the times, and we do need to utilize ChatGPT, but it should be in a way that's ethical. So I would say don't shy away from answering that question of, yes, I do use ChatGPT, and these are the ways I do use it. But in that way, it's like how we continue to build this conversation. It's helping us to understand what other people are doing to make sure that their tone and that the context stays true. Because what happens so often, I'm seeing within Gen Z, is people are saying it's a deterrent for learning and development because they're relying so much on ChatGPT. And I would argue that, lots of Gen Z, I think I saw that a stat was 67% say that they see ChatGPT as a learning and development tool. And I would agree, in the sense of, if you look at the industry's lack of mentorship, if you look at the industry's lack of learning and development in the tools of talent management, right? So it does provide a way to help you in that sense to propelling your career, but it's also in the ways and approaches you do so. So I love the conversations we build around this, but I do challenge us to continue this in a way that champions the work, as we kind of touched on ethical methods.
I'm going to make the argument that a lot of people don't actually know when AI is being used, and I say that because there's lack of media literacy, right? And so I think to understand if something is AI, you have to have contextual knowledge of how to critique what you're reading as well as what you're seeing. And that's something that we're not seeing a lot of in this day and age, right? And that's intentional, right? You teach people not to critique stuff, you limit access to what the actually is, what the truth is, and so people learn to just believe what they see at a site value. But I'm also gonna add on that, and I think a great point was made, is you can train a model, right? Because you can train an AI model, depending on what information you give it, how you prompt it, what context you're giving it, you can train this model to speak like you. I could, just using myself as an example, I could give it all the information I need for it to have as a communications professional who represents this type of client who does this type of work. I can continue to give it information. I can tell it, I want you to think like this. I want you to have this many years of experience. I want you to be mindful of X, Y, Z. And it can churn out content and it can churn out material that is what somebody who has that context and type of educational background would do. So I don't think it's as easy to look at something and be like, that's AI, that's not AI, unless you're trained to do it. And that is not something that a lot of us have the knowledge of being able to do so.
And that leads into my next question. AI algorithms are often trained on data sets that may not reflect diverse voices. How can media professionals push for more inclusive AI training data?
So I am the type of person that will call it out if it's not producing what I need it to produce. These developers are not human, okay? They're not people. So you have to bring the humanity back to the tech, right? And that's what I specialize in. So if I'm using AI and I realize that it's not producing the way I would imagine it to produce, they don't know unless you tell them. Sometimes it's as simple as telling the AI to report this to your developers and then follow it up with, are you actually going to do this, right? And see what it tells you. But I always go to that support tab. Hey, I'm trying to do this thing. It's not doing what I need it to do. There's something wrong. I think that you guys need to do more training. Perfect example, I was using an AI model. I'm not going to give their name because we got a little beef right now. But the AI model itself allowed me to clone myself, right? And that's what it said, clone yourself. It gave you all the parameters, read all your terms and conditions. I'm like, oh, this is perfect, baby. No makeup, just me. Let's do it, AI, okay? But what I found is that because I used you have to upload a video of yourself for 3 minutes of you speaking, right? I speak all the time. Throw this video in there. That's the one I want to use. But when it looked at my picture ID, because you have to send in your ID to make sure you're that person, and it looked at the video, it told me I was a different person. I just had green hair in that one. That day I had blonde braids, and it told me I was a different person. My face had not changed. I then went, took my glasses off, took my lashes off, took everything. I'm like, let me go bare face like the way my ID picture looks. Crazy as hell. And I'm in the photo like this. Still didn't pick me up because my hair was different, right? I then called a couple folks that I know that don't look like me, that are of other complexions, and I said, hey, you try this and see what you get. Instant. I said, now hold on, sis, put your hair in the ponytail. Do it again. Instant. Call that man over there. Let me see, bring him in here. And I went through 4 different people, and all of theirs was instant. Mine kept getting rejected. So I sent an email, and I took pictures, and I gave the evidence, and I said, there's something wrong with your AI model. The fact that I have changed, even to the point, y'all, in this video, I think I still have it on my phone, where I'm saying to it, I said, I'm the same person, I just got different hair, I'm moving around, I'm gonna do this for 2 minutes, so you can see it's me. I think at one point I lift my wig up, I'm like, it's me, same person in the picture, right? Still didn't get it. I sent the email to their support team, the development team, and their creators, because I hop on LinkedIn and I find out who made this thing. I sent it to their creators. I got no response from the creators. I did get a response from the support team, and they just said, oh, we'll push your image through. That's not fixing the problem, right? I said, so every time I have to create a new clone of myself, you're gonna have to physically push it through? I don't have time for that, right? Your model is broken. I am, to this day, still in the email thread with these folks, right? But that's what it takes. It takes for people to go in and say, it's wrong, it needs to be fixed, right? And don't shy away from what the truth is. They're not going to do it unless we stand up about it.
I'd also, everything Kayla said, but also adding on that too, tech usually reflects who built it, right? And I think that's a perfect example of that. Who are the people that are usually in tech? What do they look like? what biases do they have? Like, all of that is fed into these tools, right? So I think part of the solution is that we need more people who have diverse backgrounds, who have different lived experiences, who have different new to add to the conversation, to be on these like teams that are making this tech. Because what happens is, there's a reason, right? The reason why it thought you were two different people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's rooted in a very homogeneous, like, look at how black people, black and brown people are viewed. And so I think that there is a need to push more people to use AI platforms and use AI tools, but also to be on the other end of it, right? Where we are building the things. Because there's no one else is going to advocate for us the way that we do. No one else is going to pick up on those things that are stereotypical, those things that are microaggressions, those things that are no one else is going to do that, because they don't look at the work and the world the way that we do. I think black and brown people are hypersensitive and hyper aware to how they are perceived, are hypersensitive to getting it right in ways that other people aren't always concerned about. And so I think it's an increase too in who is building the tool, and making sure that the people who are building the tool look like and reflect like what the actual world is.
Right. So
I have one last add, and I'll just say, touching on building, especially as you see your companies invest in the tools. And when I was at Edelman, I knew that my account was going to be one of the first accounts to utilize the AI tools they were introducing this year. And I raised my hand as for a mini kind of project, since I noticed as an early career person, a lot of the tasks they were going to automate are the things I'm doing. And I felt a way for me to be a part of that. I love to be a part of the process. I want to understand of, what's the info that we're feeding into the model then. So, I wanted to ensure that my process was reflected as someone that, has been doing this work for this certain amount of time that I was on that account. And I would say something to look forward in the future as we, talk about PR specifically. We're seeing AI being used in the creative sense, right? So we're seeing it creating images, we're leaning on it in that front to kind of be a starting point, but we're not seeing it yet as far as media lists, as far as media representation. And I think there will be a time when that does come, and that's when we do need to step in, right? So I feel like in those conversations as we're seeing right now, that's the perfect example. But then in the future, it'll be another scenario. So I think it's just consistently being able to be audacious in that front to be represented.
And that's a great segue into balancing AI and human insight. With AI handling more media monitoring, trend analysis, and content generation, how do professionals maintain authenticity and emotional intelligence in messaging? For example, crisis communications, we cannot throw a message into chat to give a message that's transparent. You know what I mean? So who wants to take that?
I can actually start. I think as someone that's navigating that now, I have a really strict rule with myself. And it's in the information I'm feeding it and the outcome it does provide, how much of myself is it stripping away? And in that answer, then it becomes what do I add to that, right? So I'm really assessing its performance, as well as reflecting on what do I bring to the work that I provide. And I think that's a really strict line that you can do. But in addition to that, I would say, as you're building these models, they do improve, and we've talked about the data has to be quality to receive quality output, right? But within the balance, it's understanding that human emotion is truly a superpower, and the things that we bring to the table, we can't lose sight of an AI model being better at our jobs than us. And I think that's a really big call out to remind ourselves of. So often I've talked to other peers about utilizing ChatGPT for things like when we're note taking, or if we've missed something in that sense, or things in that granular, but we haven't used it in the times where we're going to be in pitch development and utilizing all those ideas. I haven't used it yet in that sense, because those are things I enjoy. Mm-hmm. I love that work, and I think that's something I don't want to lose for myself. I think ChatGPT can really take the things that make the work what it is. And I think it's really important that we respect the craft, we respect our gift. Things from this are from God, or from who we really are as people. And sometimes when we look at ChatGPT, this polished version, was it meant to be polished? Yeah. I want to question it, I want to push back on it. So really ensure that it's not just about copy paste. Sometimes it's like, does that reflect who you are? Is that the right tone? If you even put key tone, is that the right energy you're trying to provide to this pitch? So it's always questioning, it's always tweaking. I don't think any response ChatGPT provides should be perfect because it wasn't you. So always question that.
I think I want to go back a couple of things, right? Before we even keep going, understand that ChatGPT is AI, but AI is not ChatGPT, right? There are a whole bunch of AIs out here that do a number of different things. And AI would be like your sweet grandma, right? She's first on the scene, she's got all the wisdom, but she's not the best, okay? Certain things grandma can't do, okay? And so I will say to you, never marry yourself to one AI tool. There's a bunch of things that are out there that can help you get to a common goal. And I'll give you a prime example of how I use AI in communications and when I'm trying to do this crisis resolution. Just the other day, I'm using 3 different AI tools to get to what I need, right? So first, ChatGPT for me is a soundboard. Understand that AI models are built to agree with you. It's going to tell you you're doing the right thing, okay? It's built to please. It's technology, right? So what you do need to do is tell your AI models, whether it be Chat or Claude or whoever, I want you to give me the truth, right? Do not think critically about what you're going to say. Don't just agree with me unless I'm right, right? Tell me the truth, right? Because naturally it's going to give you what you want to hear, right? The second thing about it is, now ChatGPT is your grandma, is doing a lot of good things, but Claude, that's my big sister, baby. Me and Claude goes deep, okay? Claude was built by a woman, shout out to her. And its language and communication models reflect, okay? Asks a lot of critical thinking questions, gets you really down deep into what you're doing. And I tested this out with Claude and ChatGPT by asking it the same exact question, same exact prompt. Clark gave me so many details. Chat said, yeah, you good. Thanks, baby. You know? So challenging yourself to use those different models will also be a thing. But into this situation that we had the other day, we're working with a client right now who, I wouldn't call it a crisis, but it is. Someone gave her a bad review, right? And this is the first bad review she's received in like 5 years. And when I say it was bad, it was bad, right? So I always go in the method of way, and I should state this: I'm not PR, okay? So I need my own PR. Anybody?
I'm cracking.
Thank you. I need my own PR, but I do know how to build relationships, and I know how to invoke emotion. I know how to tell the story. I know how to gravitate you to where you need to be, right? So this particular review, one, we went into how she needs to communicate with the said person that gave her the review, figure out what the real issue was, right? It wasn't just because she didn't receive a product; it was some other stuff that happened, right? But then when we went into how are we going to formulate this message, my client is not techie. That's why they come here, right? So I go to chat and I say, okay, listen, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm thinking. This is what I think we should do. Give me some other solutions. What do you think, right? What do you think? Based on what I said, what can you produce? Gave me a list of that. Cool. Take that. Take all that information. Simple copy. I took that and I put it into Perplexity.
And I use Perplexity. Yes, I use Perplexity.
Yeah, I'm a Perplexity business fellow. Shout out to them. But Perplexity is the best research model that's out there right now. They're constantly improving. When you're doing your research for Perplexity, I challenge you, one, for all of your AI models, if you only use the big 3, and for me, the big 3 are ChatGPT, Claude, and Perplexity, pay the $20 to get the best output, okay? That's my first thing. Get your 20 in, and $20 a month, that's it. With the $20 a month for Perplexity, hit the deep research button, right? Because what it's going to do is to actually produce you a research report. It's not going to shoot it out quick. It's going to think about what it's doing. It's going to show you where it's pulling its sources from. And what I did was take that situation, I just copied and pasted those topics, and I put it in Perplexity and said, if someone did this, what would the response be? Has there been a response before? Show me some other reviews of someone that's had this situation before, right? And I'm reading the whole research model. It took about 10 minutes to come up with a research model. I said, okay, so that, not a good idea. Let's do something else, right? And then I go to Claude. Once I figure out what my actual thought was and what I wanted to do, I went to Claude and said, hey, this is the how I want this to be written. This is the tone, because Claude, I paid the $20. Claude also knows how I speak. Also pro tip for those that do a lot of speaking, record yourself speaking, upload the transcript to your AI so it speaks like you. Okay, that's how you make it more personal. I'm giving y'all gems right now. I hope y'all writing this down. Okay, You can do this with ChatGPT too. You can create your own custom ChatGPT with the $20, and you'll be able to upload your own speech transcript, and you can make it talk like you. So with Claude, I went in there and I said, hey, this is what's happening with the client. This is how I want to respond. I want to invoke sorrow. I want to make sure they're apologetic, but I also want to make sure my client remains as the center of this, right? That they always produce good work. This is a one-time thing that's happened, and this is how she's fixing it. Give me the statement. Okay? It gave me the statement, and even with that AI knowing who I am, I still had to go in there and make tweaks because it's an AI. It's not your brain. You gotta read, okay? So that's how I've used it, right? And I've shown other people how to do this effectively so that you can speed up your work, because that's what AI is supposed to do.
Great.
I'll address next question. Yeah.
Okay, next question.
You can.
Okay. All right. What skills should future PR and media professionals develop to work alongside AI effectively?
I think how to use it, right? So like, I think good points are being made up right now that when we think of AI, we immediately think about ChatGPT and we think about these platforms, right? Like as everyone's speaking, I'm also thinking about all of the tech AI platforms that are coming into fruition, right? Where if you thought AI was only limited to ChatGPT, then you're missing out on everything else, right? Muckrack has introduced AI capabilities to their work. Podpitch is an AI platform that is literally helping PR professionals like identify what are the best podcasts for their clients. Presshook, right? Quote, like every platform I think that we utilize is integrating is integrating AI, you can see where my brain is integrating AI into their work somehow. So I think really understanding how to work alongside AI, and I think that critical piece you talked about, where knowing how to utilize it and not take anything at face value, right, is super important. You can't just throw something in to a prompt or into a machine and expect that to be done, right? It takes the same way that you would do that research and development, the same way that you would have multiple iterations of whatever it is that you're trying to do. I think that is important too. And I think using it responsibly. Ethics in PR and comms are really important, right? I think we don't talk enough about it. What does it look like to work in this industry and be ethical about your practice and your work? And I think as we introduce AI more and more into this space, there's going to be a critical need. So I would say learn how to use the platforms, learn what's available to you, critique and question, and then also like be honest, like really make sure that you double down on the honesty component of it, the transparency component of it, because the buck stops somewhere. And I think you can tell, right? We talk about when someone is now speaking in a voice that they don't speak in, when now they have solutions for every single client, but those solutions look the same for every single client. So I think really being transparent about the work that you're doing and how you're using it.
I'd only add to that point around the transparency in your own usage, right? So like, I think monitoring usage should really lessen over time, right? Like I think as you utilize it, it should be a way to really ensure that the learning that you provided for yourself on a specific topic can be implemented elsewhere, right? Like we can also kind of go back and think about past experience that we can implement in our expertise. And I would also say even thinking now, like there's been questions that we've talked through as far as, we discussed is, am I asking it, as far as like a Black person, they're not talking as a Black person. And it's made me think, is that a thing I need to...
It does though.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing too. I don't know if we're gonna touch on. I don't want to catch up.
No.
But like there have been instances where I'm like, use a conversational, chill tone where like, I'm approachable, and it immediately spits out, "Hey girl," like, "Oh my god," like, and so I think too. No, I know that sounds crazy, but that's what it spits back at. So as you're saying that, I think. The question in my head that pops up is like, yeah, when we talk, do we have to give it that information that like, I am a Black person using this? Mm-hmm. When you spit something out that is not like correct, I'm correcting you from that lens. Mm-hmm. Because when you ask that, I'm like, actually I should be doing that. Mm-hmm. If I ask it to say something, I should be letting them know like who I am, like socioeconomic background, everything, so that it also registers that information. So the next time somebody like asks it, sorry, I'm thinking out loud right now, y'all. So
no, this is why I think it's so important, to have these conversations. You're realizing your own bias in the sense of like even thinking about the tools, right? Like I'm ChatGPT down, but I'm realizing it just because I'm familiar with it, and I'm a really good prompt engineer for that. And I've tried Claude, and it just was different, and I would have to learn it. And I think that's something we have to do due diligence for, right? Like if we're going to use these tools, we need to master them, and it shouldn't master us. And that's something that I have really needed to clock myself on, because who am I to use ChatGPT for something and not kind of assess it against another platform, because it really can showcase different results. And that's something where within research, we talk about that all the time, of having quality research is reviewing many sources. So that's the same for AI tools as well. So that's something I'm learning.
I'd like to go ahead and open it up for questions. How much time do we have? I know we have another session.
No, we really can.
We could,
We can talk about this all day, and I've actually used chat in that way where I've told it, like I'm African American female, I utilize that in prompting before I ask the question.
No, it's important, because as we were talking, I'm like, why wouldn't I? Like, because again, who builds the tech?
Right.
But it also kind of
20 minutes to the next session.
Okay.
It also kind of goes into the bias. I hate to, because I want to make sure that we understand this. ChatGPT is biased, right? The developers are white men. It's what it is, okay? And with that being said, if you tell Chat, just say, I'm a black woman, and you all gonna get the hey girl, hey sis, all that. I don't talk like that on the regular,
right?
Okay? But what I have done is just like I told you, I've uploaded my transcripts, how I communicate with people.
So
That's a good point.
Scares me though. And this is your world, so I'm very interested to hear your opinion on this. Sorry, I know we're talking now. No, I have a friend that works in like AI software, right? I watched him upload a speaking video of me, clone that speaking video of me, and then like have me watch it, me saying new things. That it freaked me out. And then he was just like, I can do this for you if you sign over your basically your voice. I said, what? But part of I think the fear for me in that then too is like, and we talked about transparency, then it makes it easy for people to cosplay, right? So if I'm feeding it all this information, right, somebody wants to do something that I do in the same way that I do it, but hasn't put in like the time to do it and to master it. It just, I guess, then starts to scare me about like, most people aren't media literate, right? So how do we really like trust people, right? We talked about this boom of AI entrepreneurs, of all this like people who can utilize this platform, but how do we know, I guess how, in any industry, how do we mitigate for that, right? Of like, now you have all these people who are at the forefront of an industry because they've trained a AI tool to do and say the thing, but they're not actually like learning, like they're learning the tool, they're not learning the work. Does that make sense?
So I would say this, a couple of things with AI, right? Because it's newer in the way that we're using it, it's not new. AI has been around for a while. Siri on your phone is AI, okay? Alexa, AI. All of it's AI. They suck, but it is what it is, right? The way that we're using it is new, which means the policies are now coming up of how we're supposed to use it ethically and safely, right? It's a new terrain. And to your point, all AIs are trained off of a data set, which is why I push you to pay the $20. Okay? When you're using the free versions of these AI models, though, that's what they're using to train their data sets. It's the free versions. It's what people are using all the time. They refuse to pay the $20. When you pay the money, there is a certain level of protection that you have, but not a whole bunch, right? And I'm just gonna be completely keeping it 100 with y'all. The government already selling our stuff.
Right.
True.
Okay, they already selling our data. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things we just can't get out of.
At least we know
it's being sold. And so the best way, if you're ever concerned about the way that AI is using your information, mask it. Shameless plug, the Rebrand Creative Agency, myself, with these bare hands, I built inside of all of our AI models that we're using, because we work in nonprofits and change makers, we're very concerned about data safety and security, right? We do not want our AI model that we've created, or any other AI model, whether it be a ChatGPT or whoever's API, to take that sensitive information and have it be used against our community for any reason. So what I built with these bare hands is what's called a third-party mask layer. So what it is inside of that AI, I'm trying to get less technical about this, to talk to you like human beings. Inside of our AI model, instead of you saying something like, Kayla from the Rebrand Creative Agency is looking to engage donor John Smith that gave $50,000. When I type that in, it hits this third-party mask layer, and the information it pushes to the AI says user A from organization A is working with donor A who gave $50,000, right? Okay. And it's transferring all of that information back to the user, so it's keeping the information safe, and then we all got all the cybersecurity stuff in place, right? It goes back to what was said earlier about who is making these things. My competitive advantage of my AIs and what we're doing here in RebrandLand is that I own a nonprofit, I worked in nonprofits, I know what nonprofits need, right? Our technology is built by people that have worked inside the organization and know exactly what it looks like. Currently, right now, nonprofit technology sucks. And it's because it's built by corporate organizations that say, here's your nonprofit tech, it's free, don't ask for nothing else, right? And then you've got to pay extra money, you've got to do extra things that really defeat the purpose. So taking a very heavy look at the AI model that you're using and then understanding which AI you're using. And here's the easy way to do this. So I always like to give you actionable steps, right? If you don't know how to use an AI, ask it. What can you do? When I first got on Claude, I said, hey, it's the first time using you. Tell me what you're good for. Gave me a list. Now my brain is kicking, like, okay, so it's kind of like chat, but not really. Let me ask some more questions. And now I'm in a conversation with this AI about what its role is. And now I can determine how I'm going to best use it, right? So any AI you use, it does not matter. Ask it what it can do for you, and you make the determination. On top of that, you know AIs know each other. Y'all know that? ChatGPT knows a Claude. Claude knows Perplexity. They all know they exist, okay?
They're cousins.
So they're cousins, right? They of the same family, twice removed. So that's how they act. You can go to your ChatGPT if you're doing, like, and this is just how I use it practically. If I'm brainstorming or soundboarding with ChatGPT and I know I need something more formal written, I say, hey, take this, summarize it, because I need to give it to Claude AI. And it will give me that transcript. I can download it, do whatever, and I will upload that to Claude and do my next task, right? Tell the chats what you need. Tell the AIs what you need, and they will produce it for you.
So we're basically working together.
Yeah, make it work together. Yeah. Now, if you come to RebrandLand, our AIs click a button, it does it itself. But if you use the other models, that's what you can do.
All right, we're going to open it up for questions. Are there any questions?
Just
After listening to this
Right.
what
are your thoughts today?
I have a question. So I never thought that it would come to the day where, as a former journalist, being able to have this specific skill set be replicated through technology. And then moreover, when it comes to PR, having that specific skill set is so interesting what you said. Damaryan, okay. About just, that human authenticity. Do you think at some point AI will just take over that journalist and PR landscape where we're no longer needed at all?
Oh, I hope not. That's going to be my future job. But I will say that it's become a point where we do need to assimilate, and we have to understand that within tech, it evolves, and we're getting to a point where a lot of tasks are able to be, done for us. And I think where it comes down to the craft, right? I talked about respecting the craft. I think right now is a perfect time to establish what that means for you. And I see in the future where people will excel is in prompt engineering. It can bring this level of efficiency mixed with authenticity as you prompt engineer more of what yourself is in a way that it can be cloned within the, right, you know all the stuff. But I think it's really important to still respect the craft and the gift, right? Like, you still need to understand formulas in your pitching. How do you truly create the story for a brand? Like, that can't be told within within a tool. That needs to come from you and your expertise. So I would say it's really finding that balance, and that's what this is, right? How can I be better? Already, I'm going to be looking at Claude. I'm going to be looking at Perplexity, and I'm going to be putting them prompts into all of them to work together. And I feel like too, it's finding more ways in which it can be authenticated, right? Like it's how do you see, where are these gaps that you're seeing within these outcomes and these prompts, and like making it more representative of the story you're trying to tell. So I don't think it's going to take over, because it really can't. There has to be human insight. There's no way in the comm space, especially in crisis comms. So like I feel like there's definitely that space that I can put the life on the line. This is not going to take over ours. Really, it's given that it's not taking ours. Though.
Yeah.
It's taking ours. But there's homework to do, and that's something that we really do need to take with it. And like after this session, it's like, what are you gonna do? You know, like how is time is passing, and it's that research, it's that practice. I love the transcript thing, and it's a great pushback on the data privacy. What's data privacy to you? You know, do you not want it to speak like you? Do you want to put just enough information to grab just enough of